The state is not good at tracking the outcomes of the money it spends on homelessness. That was the big takeaway from a new audit that we just told you about last week. It found California spent about $24 billion on homelessness and housing over the past 5 years, with a growing homeless population to show for it. Now today, the governor announced the state is giving almost $200 million more dollars to homelessness programs. Why, and what is the state doing better to keep track of all these dollars? Becca Habegger has the story tonight.
People are dying on our watch. People are dying on the streets. And we all have a responsibility to do better.
Governor Gavin Newsom got fired up at a virtual news conference on Thursday.
I care about this state. I care about our reputation. I care that people can't afford to live here, can't afford to raise their family here. I care that people visit here and go, what the hell's going on with the encampments and what's going on the streets and sidewalks? I got 3 more years. We've raised our game in this state.
He announced 17 local governments will be getting a total of about $192 million in the latest round of grants from something called the Encampment Resolution Fund. Only one is in our area. Nevada County is getting $2.5 million to serve 150 people and house 70 from its densest encampment.
People want to see these tents and encampments removed, but they want to see them removed in a compassionate and thoughtful way.
Thursday's announcement came just 9 days after the California state auditor released a report with mixed and concerning results. The state funds more than 30 programs that tackle homelessness. The report focused on 5 of them, 2 of which are likely cost-effective, the audit found: Project Homekey, which turns hotel and motel rooms into housing, and the CalWorks Housing Support Program. For the other 3, though, the state lacks clear data, the report found. The auditor said the state does not have a consistent method for gathering information on the costs and outcomes for individual programs. And one of the programs with unclear outcomes is the one doling out these new grants, the Encampment Resolution Fund.
It strikes us as throwing more gasoline on the fire.
John Kupal is president of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. He's concerned about spending more money in light of last week's report.
As the audit makes clear, the money is not being well spent and is not being tracked to the level it needs to be to determine whether or not these programs are having their intended impact.
Not surprisingly, most reporters at Thursday's news conference asked the governor about the audit and how he plans on tracking the outcomes of this latest round of grant funding.
The encampment resolution grants are the manifestation of accountability because they require specific prescriptive outcomes.
The local governments applying for this grant had to be specific. Altogether, the projects funded by these grants are set to provide services to some 3,600 people and permanent housing for nearly 2,200 of them.
We will not approve an application without stress testing that those programs are set up, and all they're missing now is resources to actually produce the results. So that's what's fundamentally different in this program.
All right, and Becca Habegger's with us right now. Becca, we know that the governor announced a new layer of accountability, right?
Yeah, Alex, if continued funding is the carrot, Governor Newsom laid out plans for a new stick. So venture with me into the weeds for a second here. Cities and counties have something called RHNA numbers. RHNA, that's the Regional Housing Needs Allocation Process. It decides how many units of housing any given community needs at various income levels, ranging from very low to above moderate. Now, a community's failure to comply with the process can result in action from the state, AG, and even fines. And Alex, here's where today's news comes in. The governor says he'll be adding to that process requirements for communities to have a certain amount of homelessness housing. So in other words, the very lowest income housing for people transitioning off the streets.
Yeah, and we know this is an important topic, so we'll continue to watch if the state can actually improve its accountability with what they're doing with our taxpayer dollars. So thank you so much, Becca.